So last night, talking a little bit about precepts for the talk, and just one more aspect, particularly around right speech, came up for me in the meantime, and it's just sort of around the positive aspects, or how to be careful with speech. And especially if we're in a situation where we need to offer some feedback to somebody, or talk about something that's difficult or uncomfortable. Just knowing the Buddha's guidelines about how to engage with that. And there's, of course, no hard and fast ways of saying things, and we all try and be careful. But the guidelines, I think, are always worth remembering. And I think one of the first and most impressive ones that I think is very useful is that notion of asking permission beforehand when wanting to engage with someone. It's kind of unique, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to do in the heat of the moment. But asking permission is a very good thing to do. So you go up to somebody and say, "Hey, there's something I'd like to talk with you about, and I'm wondering if you would be willing to sit down with me at some time and talk about this." And then set a time that's convenient and useful to do that, so that you've got the other person's permission. And also that it's up to the other person, it's incumbent upon the other person to, unless there's a good reason, like out of fear of harm or something like that, to agree to it, and to be willing to do that. And it may not be right at that moment, but not to prevaricate or postpone or hold off too long, because the person who's coming to you is very sincere and is careful enough to be actually asking permission rather than just launching in. So to be aware that person is probably also maybe a bit nervous or a bit hesitant and is wanting to be careful. So you don't want to just make them sit for days and days and days, kind of wondering when it's going to happen. So incumbent to respond in an open, accessible way, and to sit down together as soon as possible. So those are, that's kind of the beginning guidelines. And then the injunctions about making sure that it's at the right time, that it's not, we always say, don't sit down and have a discussion with somebody before the meal. It's better to make sure everybody's not on edge out of hunger or anything like that, but to make sure that physical comfort is there to be able to sit down and talk about something that might be difficult. The right place, you wouldn't want to talk about something touchy in front of a lot of other people. It's nice to be able to have just a venue where it's just the two of you, or maybe sometimes having a third person along is helpful, just to be there as a presence if it's particularly difficult, with mutual agreement, of course. And then just looking at one's own state of mind at that time, and trying to ensure as best as possible that it's done from a mind with kindness in it, and hopefulness that resolution can happen. So with a sense of intention of gentleness and kindness. And then, of course, honesty. One has to be clear and truthful about what one is feeling or one is wanting to communicate. And then making sure that the speech is also not only true, but what you're about to offer is useful. So that if it's something that isn't going to be of any use, or may not be something that will be able to come to some sort of agreement or understanding, if it's just clear, then sometimes it's not useful to even engage in it at all, just because it's the truth. So it should be true and useful, the right timing, the right location, the right circumstance, and with an attitude of kindness. And again, having asked permission beforehand and received that. So, in community like this, there's always going to be times when there's going to be stuff coming up that's almost inevitable, when you've got a group of human beings from different backgrounds all coming together and living together, trying to work harmoniously with each other. So those are some guidelines that the Buddha offered for it to be a harmonious resolution in the realm of communication. So I'll leave that for this morning's reflection.